Are you breathing as you talk to me?
Yeah, I mean, leave apart the unconscious thing. Unconscious is very smart, so just leave that apart.
So why don't you leave everything you want to multitask to your unconscious? Why not? So you remember yesterday I spoke to you about something very important. Yesterday I told you speed and scale is the function of your unconscious. So for me, when I want to multitask, I would be fully focused on something until it becomes innate. And then I will exactly do what you just said. After that skill becomes innate, I will leave it to my unconscious. So just to give you some quick examples of multitasking. Yesterday you remember I spoke to you about pacing and leading? Okay. Now my stance over here, who do you think I'm pacing? It's not my posture. I don't stand like this. I'm resembling you. But if she's going to continue to move in the way she's moving right now, my hands will automatically start moving like this. So my body posture will match you, but my hands will start matching her. So that when I stop moving my hands, she stops moving her hands. Now, do I do that consciously? What do you think? At this point in time, for me, mirroring someone has become an unconscious process. So to me, it's just like breathing. Just like you can't stop breathing, I can't stop mirroring if I want to influence a person. So if I'm in front of you, I won't come in the way of myself mirroring. And I'll give you an example. There was a Delhi batch where I was working on someone, and as I was telling a story to a particular group, and the story was a sad story. And I don't even know why I said that story, but I was saying that story. On the left-hand side, back behind, I saw a lady remove her ring and put it on the table. Now, until then, my attention was not on her. In fact, when I'm talking to you, I get into what is called tunnel vision. I only see you. But then, my unconscious mind is watching for cues that I would have consciously been interested in. So as soon as her fingers went there, my attention shifted there. I was looking here, but my peripheral vision shifted there. So I was telling a story here, but my attention was going there. Now, if I ever have to try to do these kind of things consciously, trust me, I will go mad. I cannot. I simply cannot. So the way I do it is I practice pacing and leading obsessively, compulsively, until it becomes innate. Then it becomes like breathing. No matter what I do in life, I am watching. No matter where I am mirroring. Now, in addition to that, I do something called as analog marking, which is, let's say I'm telling you a story. Within the story, I can vocally mark out certain words. And those words that are differently marked out form a command for your unconscious mind. Now, that's a very complex process. So let's say I want to mark out the words, feel comfortable now. I'll say, this morning when I woke up, I had this strange feel that this batch is going to be exciting to me. Now, I was having this comfort of lying in the bed, but my mind was always thinking about what's going to happen in the batch. And now that I'm here, now did you hear the marking of those 3 words? I exaggerated it for you to catch. Now, yeah, feel comfort, no. Now it's slightly off, but feel and comfort were there. Now, every time I tell a story, I'm analog marking. So the parallel tasking that I personally do, when you ask about my experience of parallel tasking, the parallel tasking that I personally do involves coming up with a metaphor, involves inside the metaphor marking out commands, involves being in unconscious rapport by mirroring, involves being alert to shift in breathing patterns, changes in skin color visually, and it also involves being physically alert to any shift in my body. For example, if I start talking to you and I suddenly feel a neck ache, my head would go, where did I get that from? And I would put my attention on whoever is having the headache at that particular moment. Now, everything that I'm telling you, it is for me impossible to do it consciously. Just not possible. So my theory on multitasking is get focused on something, do it obsessively compulsively until it becomes innate. And then let those things happen parallelly in your unconscious. And I think I learned that lesson from John Grinder when I remember when I was with him in Brighton, there was this long line and I was just standing next to him and there was this girl who came and asked him a question. And John answered something but asked her to stay around, and he was talking to somebody else. And as he was talking, she starts crying and laughing and crying and laughing and then crying and laughing. And after 5 minutes, she says, "Thank you, John, so much. You've changed my life." And then, so I said, "John, did you do that consciously?" He said, "Systematically, yes. Consciously, no." So I'm bringing a distinction here between conscious and systematic. You know, a lot of times when we use the word unconscious or subconscious, it appears like it's a magic trick. It's something without a structure. I'm proposing the exact opposite. I'm saying you have a system, you have a structure, you repeat it again and again, and then that system, that structure becomes unconscious. Okay, so that's my first take on your question, which is, and it's an interesting question, what do you think about multitasking? My first task is, there are a lot of things I'm already multitasking, like breathing, like managing the metabolism of my body, and my unconscious mind is doing that, my neurology is doing that, it's making moment by moment decision. Right? If there is a danger outside, then I make a moment-by-moment decision to change everything so that I could run. So the unconscious is making moment-by-moment decisions. There's a lot of things that are going on parallelly. Why not take the things we want to do every day and make that an unconscious process? Do you have examples of this from your own personal life? Yes, you do. Walking is an example of that. When you first learned to walk, it was a conscious process. Writing is an example of that. When you learn to write, when you see the letter as a child, you see yourself holding a pen and a pencil, and you write the letter A and B and C. It's a conscious process. After enough repetition, it becomes unconscious. And the beauty of it becoming unconscious is it allows you to scale up. Now you don't have to think in letters, you can think in words. So scale and speed comes as a function of unconscious process. And I'm insisting on the word speed because I think when you're multitasking, speed matters. You know, when they first, how many of you remember that Windows 3.1, if you've ever used it? There was this long time ago you had this operating system. So before Windows 3.1 came, you had this thing called DOS. And it was a black screen, and you can open one application at a time. So when Windows was launched, their marketing line was, "Hey, it's a multitasking thing. You can play a game, and on the other side you can send a mail, and these two things are happening parallelly." Now what Windows really did, and in Bill Gates' own words, was they were using a CPU that shared time, which means if there are 3 applications open, they divide a second into 1000 milliseconds, and 20 milliseconds for the first application, stop. Next 20 millisecond to the second application, stop this too. Next 20 millisecond to the third application, stop that too. Go back to the first application. So all Windows was doing was it was doing one thing at a time, but the transition was so fast that it made us feel that it's a multitasking thing. So when I'm pointing out speed as a function of unconscious process, my intention is to bring to your attention that if you really want to multitask, you want to be able to do it way faster. Like when you write A, B, C, D right now, you don't take as much time as you took when you wrote as a child. So when you're writing a word, it just flows out. The second thing about multitasking is I want to bring your attention to this concept called fractionation. Okay, and it's a very, very, very important concept for learning, for sales, for everything. Now, you know, the fractionation concept started from hypnosis actually. You know, one of the things they found out was, you know, early days when hypnotists would hypnotize people, they had various measurements of how deep someone is in a trance. So the way they did it is they would put someone into a trance, and then they would wake them up, and then they would ask them to come on day 2, and they would put them in a trance, and they would measure and realize that the person has gone deeper than they went on the first day. Then they would wake them up. Then they would put them in a trance on the 3rd day, and then the person would go deeper, and when the person wakes up, they are much more deeper in a trance. And when they put them on a 4th day, they go way deep. 6th day, 7th day, 8th day, 10 days, the process makes the person on the 10th day to go much, much more deeper than they were on the first day. Okay? Do you understand so far? Now comes the interesting thing. What John and Richard did is they took a guy, they put him in a trance, they woke him up, they spoke to him about random things, and put him in a trance again. And guess what happened? He went just as deep as the guy who went in the 2nd day. And when they did this 5 times, they put him to sleep, woke him up, put him to sleep, woke him up, put him to sleep, woke him up. In the 5th time, they went more deeper than someone who went into a trance for 10 days. Okay, and this concept in hypnosis is called fractionation. What it really means is that if you do something with full focus, you do anything else with full focus, and if you come back to what you were originally doing, your focus would deepen. Your understanding would deepen. So I'll repeat that again. So you do whatever you do with full focus, and you do anything else, not that. And then if you come back to what you were doing originally, your focus would go deeper than it was the first time. One of the phenomena that surprises me a lot, is that, in those days in China, when they used to make martial arts a sport, a serious sport, they had this ritual that, when someone would become a dan, like black belt, and then they become a degree higher, the master would tell the person to take a 1-year break and come back. He would say, go do anything else, don't do martial arts, and come back. And what surprised me is to know that when these people used to come back, apparently they would be better in shape and form than they were before they took that break.